Welcome to Roundhouse Roulette, a Walker, Texas Ranger podcast. Well, thank you all for joining us for a special episode in which we celebrate the life, legacy, and legend of the great Chuck Norris. I'm Evan Dalton, here with my brother Adam.
What's going on?
And fellow Walker, Texas Ranger superfan in mourning, Mr. Bob Leahy.
Sad day for Ranger Nation, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we're reacting to the major news that Chuck Norris recently passed away at the age of 86.
Yeah.
And, obviously, pretty crushing blow to anyone who's a fan of the man or his tremendous body of work. And we just wanted to take some time here to do some reflecting here.
Yeah, and I think no better place to do that than at CD's Bar and Grill. Let's head on over there. I honestly thought Chuck Norris was going to outlive us all, and honestly, I think he really will, because he was literally a folk hero and legend while he was alive. Now the dude is he's like Hercules.
Yeah,
pretty much. I think one of the constellations might be him. I mean, I don't know how physics work, but as far as radio or television waves go. But I'd like to think that somewhere syndicated episode of Skyjacked was sent out via TV wave, but it hit something and just ricocheted off and somehow traveled through our atmosphere and just went out into outer space.
Knocked a few stars out of constellation, and now it's in the shape of a fist.
Well, at some point, billions of years from now, it might land on a distant planet, and that life will be like, man, what is this strange radio signal from outer space? And they'll translate it, and it will be Chuck Norris
riding a motorcycle up an escalator
through a mall as the final peace offering. And they'll know what a great people humans were.
Yeah, they'll be like, you know what? I think we're gonna not mess around with those Homo sapiens. I think we're gonna treat them with a little respect.
To be clear, we'll already have wiped ourselves out quite thoroughly by then. But that will be our legacy: is this episode out in the ether.
Way to be positive, man. That's great.
I mean,
you got it.
Got a long way to go to catch up with the dinosaurs, but
That's true. Well, we heard from a longtime listener and patron, Kenny Detweiler. He said, this one really hurts. I'm sure the podcast episode honoring him will be incredible. I don't know if we're off to that level yet, Kenny, but we're going to try our best just to talk about Chuck and watch a bunch of his clips and just celebrate his life together here and appreciate you being a listener and celebrating Chuck yourself. We also heard from LaRue Michelle on Facebook, and they shared this amazing Chuck Norris birthday cake. I think it was a few weeks ago. Isn't that epic?
That's pretty good. I kind of want to get a car wrap of that now.
Yeah, but I didn't see it until after Chuck's passing, so I sent my condolences. But LaRue said, I hope you guys keep making this podcast in honor of Chuck Norris. Yes, we will definitely do that. And thank you for sharing your delicious looking cake there and celebrating the man yourself.
I hope it was delicious.
Yeah.
Although I don't know how many knives they had to go through to cut through it.
Many a knife was broken that day.
What flavor is a Chuck Norris cake?
Fear.
I was going to say rawhide. But
That's the frosting. The inside is fear.
I don't know.
Actually, it's just a frosted bowl of chili.
Oh, CD's chili on the inside.
Mm.
Can you imagine cutting into a birthday cake only to find chili on the inside?
Have it ooze out.
They're pretty sick.
You could make a cornbread cake.
Ooh,
I like this. I like where this is going.
You got to put
with
a little
sour
extra
cream
flour.
kind of frosting.
Yeah. You got to put a lot of flour in it so that it builds up some gluten, because the cornbread doesn't have any gluten, so it just fall apart. So you got to have some normal flour in there, right? You make a bread bowl, that fill it with chili, and Bob, love it. Frost it with some cream cheese frosting or something, a little sour cream.
Yeah.
Sprinkle some cheese on it to make it look like sprinkles.
But is it going to be warm or cold chili?
Warm.
I mean, it'd have to be warm, but
Yeah.
It's delivered and plated immediately before serving. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Roundhouse Nation. I know we've heard from a lot of you, and it's just, sad week for all of us. Our thoughts go out to Chuck's family and everybody in the Walker, Texas Rangerverse. I thought we'd start here by reading some of the tributes. Evan, can you take this one from the Norris family?
yes, the Norris family wrote, "To the world, he was a martial artist, actor, and a symbol of strength. To us, he was a devoted husband, loving father and grandfather, and the heart of our family. To him, you were not just fans, you were his friends. Thank you for loving him with us."
Yeah,
Well said.
our thoughts go out to you guys. We also heard from Judson Mills, who obviously was Ranger Gage on the show, and he said Chuck was one of those rare individuals who was truly the icon he was made out to be. Quiet, humble, kind, wise, and gentle. A giant among men who somehow always made you feel completely at ease, an American hero. Yeah, I mean, from everything I hear about Chuck, working with him and whatnot, he seemed like he was a really nice guy, and just to have his castmates say so many things about him. Cherie J. Wilson said, "We laughed so much, the kind of laughter that stays with you forever." Really nice. Nia Peoples, who played Sydney, said, "Chuck did it. He lived fully all the way through." Yeah, this guy, Chuck Norris, I was thinking, even if he didn't have a TV or movie career, he already had like a legendary life. Being in the Air Force, a self-made man, learned martial arts, started his own dojos, all those things, which we'll get into. But yeah, really, Chuck Norris is definitely contender for most interesting man in the world.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it later, but a lot of charitable work. He really sort of took the platform that he had and really maximized it, which a lot of people don't do.
And Marco Sanchez, who played Carlos on Walker, Texas Ranger, said, "Chuck and his family were very welcoming and generous to me." So echoing that. A number of action superstars jumped out to, obviously, I mean, who would not want to be paying tribute to Chuck Norris in the action realm? But who do we hear from, Bob?
Oh, we got Danny Trejo.
Trejo, baby.
Yeah.
Of Trejo's Tacos fame, of course.
I'd love to
Machete.
try to do an impression, but
Do not.
I don't think I have the rasp.
Wash behind your back.
Yeah.
The elves were the right play. That was from Magic the Gathering Danny Trejo reference, guys, for you there. Just throwing it out
That's
there,
a
okay.
real deep cut.
Yeah, I was going to say a deep cut. But Danny Trejo said, "I've never met a nicer person in my life. Not only was he a badass, but he was a good man through and through. One of the greats, without question." Well said.
We also heard from Dolph Lundgren.
Ever since I was a young martial artist and later getting into movies, I always looked up to him as a role model. Someone who had the respect, humility, and strength it takes to be a man.
Dude, when the tough guys come out to give you the salute, I mean,
He heard from JCVD. I mean, come on now.
yeah, what did Jean-Claude say?
Jean-Claude.
Jean-Claude.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
We knew each other from early days, and I always respected the man he was. He will never be forgotten.
Yeah, I think Chuck Norris might have trained him or did some training with him when he was first hitting the scene.
So
Yeah, he shared a few pictures of him here. I'm pulling them up.
epic.
Yeah, look at him there.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Of course, we heard from Sylvester Stallone, who had Chuck cameo in The Expendables 2. I think that was around 2012, and that was one of Chuck's last big movie roles. But Sylvester said he was all-American in every way. Great man. I mean, Chuck Norris, he's a tough guy's tough guy.
Yeah, the real tough guys know that, walk quietly with a big stick or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, well, it was that Theodore Roosevelt said something like that.
Maybe, yeah. But just, the guys that the tough guys respect is generally not like a pompous a-hole,
Yeah.
They usually, they don't need to talk the talk.
Yeah, they've got the rep. So where I'm hanging out right now, virtually, CD's Bar and Grill, in real life, is the White Elephant Saloon in Fort Worth, Texas. And they also did a little shout out to Chuck. So thought we'd check that out here. They said, the mark Chuck Norris left on White Elephant in Fort Worth will not be forgotten. And they shared some of the pictures from there. I guess they have like a little Walker Texas Ranger display at the White Elephant. And we've been talking about it, doing a field trip to Dallas and Fort Worth. So hopefully we can maybe do a podcast at the White Elephant Saloon someday. But last but not least from our tributes, and I mean, there are a ton of them. We could do tributes forever. But one tribute in particular, kind of shoehorned with what we talk about on this podcast here all the time, a one Guy Fieri.
R.I.P. to the legend, Chuck Norris. My all-time favorite, Good Guys Wear Black.
That must be his favorite Chuck Norris movie.
Yeah. Is that like a haiku? It's like,
let's count.
I mean, respect from Flavortown here.
Not a haiku.
Oh, okay.
Did you see me counting on my fingers?
I was just counting syllables. Sorry.
Yeah, unbelievable. Chuck, he was born in Oklahoma, and by his own account was kind of a shy, poor kid whose father was not really around. And I thought we'd kick it off by just watching this clip.
You know, I do a lot of lecturing with underprivileged kids, a lot of young kids. And the basic philosophy that I give them is, I use myself as an example. Here I was, a kid who grew up non-athletic, never excelled in any American sports. Right. And I become a world karate champion. A kid who was extremely shy and timid and very, very introverted. And now I'm an actor. You know? And you think, my God, how could he do these things? And I said, the formula for what I went through and how I was able to do this is that we all have basically two paths that we can follow in our life, a negative and a positive path. And what that means, Dennis, is in the negative side of it is that you feel in yourself, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't accomplish anything. Right. I was born poor, I was in the ghetto or the backwoods of Oklahoma like I was, so I just didn't get the right card, so I'm going to always be a failure. Now, if I want to get high, I'll take drugs. If I want to escape from the problems of everyday life, I'll just go and get drunk. Of course, the end result of all this is total disaster and a complete unhappiness. But just by changing your attitude and setting goals, having a direction, and setting a specific goal and getting that goal vividly in your mind, and then having the determination to stick with it long enough. That's where most people fail, like you say, is that any goal that you want to accomplish, there are going to be obstacles in the way trying to stop you to get there. So you've got to force yourself to overcome these different obstacles. But that's an excitement and a high that you can never get with drugs, because with drugs you go up and down. Yeah, sure. But with this type of excitement, it's a continuous thing. And then if you'll study or train accordingly, there's very few things you cannot accomplish.
Yeah, so he grew up in Oklahoma. He joined the Air Force in 1958 and was stationed in South Korea, where he discovered the martial arts. He left the service in 1962 and then started teaching karate full-time and eventually opened up like 30-plus karate dojos and was in L.A. teaching like superstars karate and stuff.
Well, that's probably where he met Bruce Lee for Enter the Dragon, right?
I mean, I think he was teaching the Presleys like Elvis and Priscilla, Steve McQueen and whatnot.
The king of cool. I like that philosophy. I think we need to apply his philosophy of sticking with it long enough to the podcast, right? And we've gotten this far, so we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, we're going to get through all the 200-plus episodes. We're almost halfway there after 6 years. Just for reference, the show was on air for 9 years.
Oof. I don't think we can get there.
Chuck also was like won a bunch of karate competitions. There's this clip I saw talking about when he first started out.
In my very first tournament, myself and 3 of my students drove to Salt Lake City, Utah, from Los Angeles to compete in this tournament. But none of us have any money at that time. And so we drive this old Falcon for 16 hours to get there, and we compete. And my 3 students won and I lost. So I drove back as they held their trophies. When we got back home, I started thinking about it, how I'd lost. And I came up with a basic philosophy then, Arlene, is that the only time you ever lose at anything is when you don't learn from that experience. Because that's what life is experiences. And if you learn from those experiences, then you never lose at anything.
Sounds like a good teacher.
Yeah. His fight career was from around 1964 to 1974, and he was the world middleweight karate champion and defended the title 6 times until he retired undefeated. Pretty legit. And he also founded his own martial arts discipline, Chun Kuk Do. which I know we've talked about this on the podcast before, but I mean, again, this guy was doing legendary stuff even before the movies got involved.
But speaking of the movies,
this is a clip from Late Night with Conan O'Brien prior to the Walker Texas Ranger lever.
Bruce was really ahead of his time. And I worked out with Bruce. He and I worked out for 3 years. That's when I held the world title. And then he went to Hong Kong to pursue his movie career, did a couple of movies, very successful. So he called me up and said, I want to do a movie with a fight scene that everyone will remember called Return of the Dragon. He said, would you come over and do the fight scene with me? I said, well, do I have to lose? He says, yeah, you have to lose. So I said, all right. So I went over there, and I'd seen his first 2 movies. I said, the guys you fight don't even have a chance. I mean, they don't even touch you, you know? And he said, no, we'll make this a seesaw battle. And so we made it fight back and forth, and it became a classic.
That was unusual at the time, because in that fight scene, you knock him down a few times, and it's pretty close, and he didn't allow that, did he?
No, I was the only one ever to really do that, fighting. But again, he respected me because of my ability as a world champion at the time.
Bruce didn't really compete, from what I was reading, whereas Chuck had some titles under his belt. That's why he was called in.
I mean, so there's a part in that Coliseum fight scene from Enter the Dragon where Bruce Lee just grabs a fistful of his chest hair.
I did see that. I was rewatching that fight, and yeah, I mean, Bruce Lee pulls at Chuck Norris's chest hair. I mean, talk about a dick move.
Yeah, I think that was unscripted too, but I'm not 100% on that, so don't quote me.
Is that why like a lot of fighters shave?
Probably, less wind resistance,
Okay. Well, I mean, they're not swimming.
Yeah, but, there's air resistant. The wind will slow you down, too.
Okay. All right.
You got to take every advantage you can get.
Well, pretty legendary fight there. But one of Chuck's clients, he kind of recommended to Chuck that he try movies.
One of my private students, Steve McQuade, said to me, well, what are you going to do now that you're no longer fighting? And I said, well, I don't know. I'll probably just continue teaching. And he says, have you ever thought about being an actor? And I kind of laughed, so I said, but I'm kind of curious. Why would you think I could be an actor? He says, I don't know. Only the camera can tell. But he says, I just have an instinct that you could do well. So I start thinking about it. And I'm thinking, now I'm 34 years old, 16,000 unemployed actors, and they're only making $4,000 a year average. So I go back to Steve and I said, Steve, do you realize what the odds are on a person 34 years of age who has never had any acting experience of making it in this business? He looks me straight in the eyes and he says, I've been training with you for over 3 years. You said there's nothing impossible if you set your heart and set your focus on achieving it. I said, I get your message.
So it sounds like Steve McQueen deflected his own advice on him.
Nice.
We have done a few of Chuck Norris's movies on this podcast. There are so many that I want to dig into, but I mean, let's talk about his film career. What are some of the big ones?
I mean, we did Lone Wolf McQuade, but I would say the ones a lot of people probably know and think of when they look back as sort of the Delta Force series.
Yeah.
Which are like super over the top, mid-'80s action movies. But he was in a lot of sort of gritty, sort of smaller films earlier on.
And the Missing in Action trilogy.
Also true, yep.
I remember being at a friend's house and his dad was just watching that. So I just remember Chuck Norris like rappelling in full fatigues. And I was like, oh, this guy's pretty badass.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe.
There's one that I want to do. I think it's a Christmas movie, Invasion USA, which we tried to set up to do a few times. We just have yet to be able to pull the rabbit out of the hat, but it is bombastic. We need to get it. It's like the one when he has the two Uzis that it's this one. So, it's
nice.
Invasion USA. I think that needs to happen for this Christmas. Think we can pull that off?
I think so. I remember watching it because I think we had scheduled it, right?
Yeah, I think
that's
so.
probably my fault.
I didn't mind watching it, I'll tell you that. I probably still got notes. Watch it again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, another excuse to watch Invasion USA to see this. I mean, come on now.
It was definitely over the top and enjoyable for sure.
I went to go see this metal show with my buddy the night they announced at the 20th of Chuck's passing, and I had to rock this hat. I had to get it out there.
Yeah.
I don't wear a flat brim hat on principle, but I don't know why I'm keeping this as a flat brim hat. I feel like someone of my age should not be wearing a flat brim hat. What do you guys think?
Well,
think I can rock it?
I tend to agree, but I think if you are wearing a flat brim hat at your age, it's a pretty good choice.
This one,
So I
It's
think
got to
it's
be
a
a
pass.
statement piece. It's a statement piece.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's got to roll with it.
It's got to have Chuck Norris with 2 Uzis going.
Yeah, that's correct.
Because, no one's going to call me out. Oh, you're too old to wear the flat brim hat, man. You don't even know any hip hop or anything, man. I'll say, dude, talk to these Uzis right here. Okay? Well, I guess now it's on for the rest of the podcast here. So,
Yeah. You put your headphones over it, so there's nothing you can do.
No.
it's stuck.
No.
I'm locked in.
Locked and loaded.
But we got to do that for Christmas. What's the one we need to do for Halloween, Evan, that you've seen? It's like Hellhound or something like that?
I think it's Hellbound. I'm pretty sure he like either beats up Satan or Satan's son. He kills a demon or something. It's pretty interesting.
I want to see that so bad.
Yeah, it's got. I think it. I also believe it had like sort of like Lethal Weapon vibe, like a buddy cop.
Okay.
I don't know. I could be mixing them up, but
We also did, what was the one that he battles like Frankenstein?
or a Silent Rage.
That was pretty good. And we did a podcast. One of our most listened to podcasts is Top Dog. And then for people out there that see the gif of Chuck Norris stopping a chainsaw blade with his hands, that was the kids movie Forest Warrior, which we also have a podcast on. But I think Delta Force would be a blast to do. I've got a clip from Delta Force right here that might be, like, for listeners of Roundhouse Roulette, we like a good vehicular transference. And this might be the ultimate Chuck Norris vehicular transference that, we have yet to deal with on Roundhouse Roulette. And it's from Delta Force. I'm pulling it up right now for the record, and we must discuss.
They're shooting at us!
Pops a wheelie. Motorcycle to moving 747. Pretty good, right?
It's not bad.
I'll say.
Not bad.
I'll say. We'll put it on the list. We'll have to rank them.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be the Cannon Walker Texas Ranger vehicular transferences, but yeah, I mean, hot air balloon to hot air balloon kind of beats this, I'm just going to say.
It might, yeah.
It's pretty niche. I would say even biplane to convertible.
Yeah, that was pretty good too.
Pretty good,
and those are both from Walker, not a major motion picture. So props to Walker Texas Ranger for really delivering that action. Walker Texas Ranger took everything that he learned in karate and in making action movies, and he brought everything in, his whole life experience, and wove it into Walker Texas Ranger. So this is all part of the DNA of Walker. But yeah, maybe he was like, hey, we can top that vehicular transference. Let me just clear it with my stunt double first, Shout out to Kenny Gibson, who did a lot of those stunts. So I know we've dug into this the past on the podcast, but yeah, Chuck was so big in the 80s. He had his own kids cartoon. There was a whole action figure line, comic book series. I came across this trailer for the cartoon. We got to dig in here.
Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris, man of action. Chuck Norris stars in Chuck Norris Karate Commandos. Chuck Norris, he's got nerves of steel and strength to match. Chuck Norris with his team, Pepper.
It's too dangerous, Chuck. Wow.
Too much.
Too much.
Kimo, the Samurai Warrior. Reed, Chuck's teenage apprentice. Tabe, the Sumo Champion. With Chuck Norris, they battle the sinister forces of the Claw.
Remember this.
And the ruthless Super Ninja.
I'll finish Norris!
Chuck Norris stars in Chuck Norris Karate Commandos.
What is that music? It reminds me of something else, right? It's like almost like Super Friends.
It sounds like the music from the X-Men arcade game.
I was going to say, it does sound video gamey.
That's something.
There were like 6 episodes, and you would do like inspirational talking of the real Chuck Norris at the end, pretty much leading out of that, out of his action movies and whatnot. He did Lone Wolf McQuade, where he played a Texas Ranger, but they couldn't really just make that a TV show, or they'd have to pay for the rights for that character. So they kind of made Walker based on that, totally different name, a little different premise. And that's how the TV show Walker Texas Ranger came about. I've got a clip from the first episode, the pilot, which we've done a podcast on, but this is a classic scene.
Let me see.
You broke my nose!
I'll fix it. Nah, looks better the other way.
Never forget when Chuck Norris broke somebody's nose, fixed it, and then broke it again. Unbelievable.
I'd say he's like knocking out dudes that are like super old, but in the end, you know, to your point, he's doing this. This is like his third act at this point, maybe fourth act at this point.
Yeah.
And so he's probably taking out guys that are younger than he is, but he's looking great doing it.
I mean, he was in his 60s near the end of the show.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Nia Peoples did an awesome Instagram live stream where she talked about working on the show. She FaceTimed with fans just to talk to them and ask questions. So if you're interested in that, it's on her Instagram page, and we'll link to it so you can watch that. And she talks a lot about working on Walker Texas Ranger and how Gage and Sydney were kind of brought on. She thinks, you know, maybe for just a little more excitement towards the end of the series. Someone kind of did ask, hey, do you think because Chuck was getting old? We'll link to that. Definitely check that out. Yeah, so just on Walker Texas Ranger, which I kind of did my thoughts on it. I wrote my thesis statement on Walker Texas Ranger that I put out there at the last podcast, and it's on our website. The roundhouse kick that binds, if you want to check that out. But I believe that Chuck Norris's roundhouse kicks can bring us all together as a society, and that was kind of what I came out of this experience of being a Walker Texas Ranger fan. What have you guys been thinking about this?
Mostly roundhouse kicks.
You know, as life exits this world, life enters it, you know.
It's all energy.
Yeah.
We're all energy, and as we're seeing it, you know, the reaction to Chuck's passing is even more energy, and we can choose what we want to do with it. That's kind of what we're doing, just seeing Chuck's philosophy in life and how he became the man he was and stayed motivated.
Yeah. I mean, he really was sort of a family guy, particularly sort of in this third or fourth act of his life. He really turned Walker Texas Ranger into kind of a family affair. So, you know, a lot of his kids were involved in either the production side of things, stunt side of things, acting side of things, directing side of things in some cases. And then, you know, everyone who was on set just talks about how it was sort of a big sort of family thing too. I think that was just kind of the feel of the whole thing. I'm not an authority to speak on this, but it seemed like even in his later years, he really doubled down on the family side of things. And so, you know, for someone who accomplished so much, I think it's particularly meaningful for him to really sort of circle back and really double down on family.
Definitely. And you know, the show, the reason why we like it, I mean, we thought it was absurd. I mean, it's just, you've got this Texas Ranger who knows karate, and then he just happens to run into all the flannel-wearing goons who also know karate in Texas every time.
There are a lot of dojos there, I guess.
It was unbelievable. And then I was thinking back to all the crazy stuff that had happened on the show. I mean, he literally uses a jetpack.
He uses a secret government ray gun to stop an airplane in its tracks.
Yes. He time travels. There's an episode with an alien, an episode where there are acts of God, and then there's an episode where there's the reincarnation of the Dalai Lama. You've got him fighting Nazis, the IRA. I mean, it really covers the gamut here, you know?
I mean, even our first episode, I think we did, The Guardians, he was fighting eco-terrorists on an oil platform.
Exactly, which I'm glad you bring that up because that was our first episode of Roundhouse Roulette that the roulette wheel chose for us to do. Season 4, Episode 3, The Guardians. And I had stumbled across this a few weeks ago. They had posted up a behind-the-scenes photo just saying, hey, do you remember when Chuck Norris filmed at the Poop Deck? Which was a bar in the episode.
That's true. That's one of the few times we see him order a beer. I don't think we see him drink it, but he orders a long neck.
He's probably just trying to fit in.
Undercover.
Yeah, it's just
got to do it. He just has like a Ziploc bag under his shirt, and he just spits it in.
When he's chasing after a bad guy, he's trying to get out of the bar real quick. And here's the shot.
Yeah.
So I guess they're like, well, let's strategically park your Dodge Ram underneath the deck of the Poop Deck. And looking at this, I mean, that's blatantly not Chuck. That looks like Kenny Gibson doing the jump there, right?
Yeah.
I would say, yeah.
So I'd already kind of had that, and I was going to share that at some point, but I went back to check, and they gave a little shout out to Chuck on their Facebook page. The Poop Deck's still in action, by the way. So if anyone's in Galveston, you may want to go to the Poop Deck and just blow off some steam, you know?
Tie one on at the Poop Deck.
I mean, one in Rome, you know? Live music. I mean, first of all, check out the Facebook page. The Poop Deck Club.
Yeah. Unchanged.
They don't have a Facebook page for the restaurant. It's just called the Poop Deck Club.
Oh, it's like a fan organized page.
Yeah. Here's the Poop Deck scene. Let's pull it up. Let's rock this.
Al Wheeler? Who's asking? Texas Ranger. I want to know about Carl Oliver.
Buckle up.
Oh, yeah.
Safety.
This is Walker, Texas Ranger. I'm in a high pursuit chase of a man in a blue truck. I'm on the harbor side near 38. Need assistance.
Ooh. Pretty solid. But shout out to the Poop Deck. So
love it.
Love that you guys are still rocking it.
Yeah, it takes me back
to that old Poop Deck.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So Walker, Texas Ranger, action-packed TV show for Saturday night audiences. But somewhere along the line, he decided to start weaving some moral lessons into the show, which, as we see, he had a lot of from teaching karate. So we see these kind of moral lessons being thrown into the show. What are some of the ones that they've dealt with?
They deal a lot with gang violence.
Yeah. Drugs.
They're really big into dealing with drugs,
right?
Particularly designer drugs, new drugs, anywhere along the production line. So anywhere from where it's produced to who's distributing it to who's using it, all of the above.
Domestic violence. He's dealt with that.
Obviously, they deal with racial discrimination. He beats up Nazis and the KKK. He deals with social issues like AIDS.
Yeah, sometimes it's ham-handed, but maybe you wouldn't hear about some of this stuff, the people watching the show, ourselves included, at the time. So he's kind of using Walker, Texas Ranger as his vessel to talk about these issues.
Abuse in prisons and elder abuse.
That's true.
We're missing a lot of them here, but
usually he solves them with a roundhouse kick, which is good. It's a chef's kiss, as they say, right? Some of them are a little ham-handed how they deal with them, but I really always feel like the way he goes about acting in the show and whatnot, it's always from a sincere place. You know, I was watching these videos and then came across that Clarence Gilliard video where he talks about being a black cowboy and kicking bad guys' butts on TV is just something you didn't see in the 60s and 70s when he grew up. So for him to do that was pretty progressive. In a lot of ways, Walker, Texas Ranger was on the right side of a lot of good stuff on TV.
Yeah, mentally handicapped. We had a couple of those.
Yeah, they dealt Special Olympics. Definitely had that.
Yeah, I was thinking of Mice and Men, but that
of Mice and Men episode. Yeah, that was again, a little ham-handed with the delivery, but we're talking about it. Yeah, when you send Gary Busey after a Special Olympian to kill her,
to choke out a teenage girl with Down syndrome.
Oh my gosh!
Oh Lord! So
again, not always perfect, but that's why we're doing this podcast, parsing every episode, rating them on a scale of 0 to 10 boosts to the face. So all sortable on our website, roundhouseroulette.com.
Nice.
Well, kind of the next part of his journey after Walker, my understanding is he kind of retired from acting to take care of his wife who was really sick. So that's when we see him becoming Chuck Norris, the super salesman, which he always had been doing on some fashion. But that's kind of his later chapter and getting more into politics and whatnot. But while he was doing that, Walker, Texas Ranger kind of got a life of its own in syndication. And around this time, Bob and I were in college, and we were watching the first DVD set at college, and Conan just started doing the Walker, Texas Ranger lever, where he would pull the lever and play a ridiculous Walker, Texas Ranger clip, because as we know, there's a million clips that you could do from Walker. Yeah, exactly.
Particularly out of context, the clips are outrageous.
Yeah. So he would pretty much set it up, pull the lever, and it would be like him, jumping on an airplane and punching a female in the face. That's one of them. But this is the clip that you see passed around the most, or that we get texted the most.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, as some of you may know, we here at Late Night often like to show clips from Walker, Texas Ranger. Well, folks, there is one clip from Walker, Texas Ranger that we've been holding back on. In fact, this is true. We've been afraid to show it. But it's spring cleaning, and I want to test just how good a crowd this is. So here it is. The one Walker clip we've never shown. Once you see it, you'll understand why.
And how you doing, little partner?
Fine. And it's little visitor now. Attaboyoli's how you say it in Cherokee.
Oh, well, pardon my French, but I'll be damned.
Walker told me I had AIDS.
I think we should go to commercial. No? You okay? All right, there's one last one. Oh, God.
Yeah, so pretty classic. My understanding is the Chuck Norris jokes started more as Jean-Claude Van Damme jokes. But then when Conan started doing the lever, they transferred over to Chuck Norris jokes.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard that.
I'm starting that rumor here if I misread that wrong this weekend.
Okay.
But yeah, so kind of interesting. But dude, he rocked that lever for like a full year,
Oh yeah. If anyone hasn't seen the supercuts on YouTube or any of the
every once in a while I just go and I'll kill a whole hour watching those.
Yeah, his staff really found some gems.
Mm-hmm.
And when I've watched some of the clips, especially in the past week, We haven't watched most of them, which is just, you're almost halfway through. And the fact that we haven't seen a lot of these, there's a lot to look forward to. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, they have a podcast inside Conan O'Brien, and they interview the guy who literally was trapped in a room watching Walker, looking for those every day. I was like,
we need him on the
I want him on the show so bad. But he also started that kind of parody of Walker, Eagle Heart. He was the one that created that show because, I mean, if you're locked in a room with Walker, I mean, that's all that's going to come out afterwards. You know what I mean?
He might have seen, he's seen more Walker, Texas Ranger than us for sure. So.
Yeah. And I mean, Roundhouse Nation, you guys have seen way more Walker than us. We're pacing ourselves here. Yeah, we grew up watching it, but we didn't have access to watch every single one on the regular. I've seen people, they just leave the TV on with Walker. You know, I'm trying to keep it fresh here.
Yeah, there's some over-the-air networks that still, any given afternoon, I spent some time unemployed last year. I'll tell you, it's on all the time.
All right. Well, this does not get enough attention here. So this is a Conan O'Brien clip that I feel like is just as worthy that we need to watch here.
What was that? I still don't understand. These are unbelievable. I tell you, these Walker Texas Ranger clips are so great. I swear to God, I could just show these all night long, and I'm going to also, because What the hell was that?
So you like to pull levers? Well, guess what, O'Brien? I've got a lever of my own. Would you folks like to see a real clip?
All right. Good work, guys. Just keep those Walker Texas Ranger clips coming. Who knew I could host this show just by pulling a lever? Oh. Hi, Chuck.
Hey, Conan. Something funny?
No, I was just talking about Walker Texas Ranger, that's all. It was a great show.
Yeah, I think so. 8 years isn't too shabby.
Yeah, it's a long time on the air, 8 years. Say goodnight, Norris.
No, you say goodnight, Conan. I want to enjoy this.
You win this round, Norris, but I swear I'll be back.
Unbelievable. I mean,
yeah, he always had a great sense of humor about it too.
Yeah. Props to Chuck Norris for taking it all in stride. Do you guys have a favorite Chuck Norris joke? I know we're not really too partial to them on the podcast. I think it's because we always thought Walker Texas Ranger was funny when we were watching it. So it's like, dude, no, you don't get it. Walker Texas Ranger. Watch Walker Texas Ranger. You'll get it even better.
I mean, there's been so many, but I definitely have gotten a few over text messages in the past few days. So I'll read one. Chuck Norris died 10 years ago. Death only just recently worked up the courage to tell him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Chuck Norris makes onions cry. That was always my go-to. It's simple, man. It's simple.
Yeah.
Evan, you got one?
Oh, I mean, I like the one that Chuck Norris leaned into where, he's talking about how he went to go see a tiger, and so he goes into a tiger's cage, and he goes and pets the animal, and it starts to growl, and the trainer says, "Oh, you get up very, very slowly, back up," and then it was the tiger that actually got up and backed away.
Classic. Yeah, and in the video, Chuck Norris, he goes, instead of said, "I pet the tiger," he goes, "I petted him." It's the way he says it's so funny.
Again, that's him sort of leaning into it and kind of owning the
embracing it. And really, like, he became like a folk hero, and those jokes are not going anywhere. I was reading about Chuck this weekend, and I see the headline for the Tennessean newspaper talking about the time that we sang to Chuck Norris. They were like, "Remember the time the Tennessee Warblers sang for Chuck Norris?" I guess that's the only thing Nashville had to connect Nashville with Chuck Norris, so they went with it.
It's true. Of the triumvirate of this podcast, Adam is the only one who has met Chuck Norris, and got put in a headlock. So
survived.
I did indeed.
The Tennessee Warblers, John Beck and Adam Dalton, brought their instruments and stood in a long meet and greet line. After 90 minutes, the Warblers got the chance they so craved. Norris smiled big and busted out a few goofy low-key dance moves during their performance. Someone took a picture of Norris grabbing band member Adam Dalton and putting him in a headlock. "Wow, incredible," Norris said to the band. "You guys are great." He smiled and his teeth shined bright enough to light the entire building where the encounter took place.
Dude, this guy's a writer. No, Chuck, he put me in the sleeper hold. I was out for like a whole day after this,
You sure it wasn't a year?
I mean, I can't
you've had
remember.
back problems ever since, so
yeah, it's like dude.
Or did that fix your back problems?
I'm not sure. I know I haven't been helping him, but and you guys know how quick his sleeper holds are,
Oh, yeah.
almost instantaneous.
Yeah. So it was like pretty much to the floor immediately after that. So, but no, like for the amount of time that we spent, we make fun of the latest Chuck Norris news for years before John and I went to try to meet Chuck Norris. So, I went up to the tiger and I put my head in the tiger's mouth after, making fun of him here on the podcast, and he and his whole family were super cool, just great energy. And to get to thank him for all the joy he's brought us, I'm grateful to be able to do that, and all the fans that have been able to do that too. He was such a great guy.
Yeah, quite the opportunity you had there, and you lived to tell the tale.
We sang the Walker Texas Ranger theme song into his eyes, into the eyes of the Ranger.
You sang it at him.
It was more of an attack.
That's a brave move.
But he deflected it greatly.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping he would grab the guitar and do his version of it, because, again, he's my favorite singer, Chuck Norris.
Right.
He gets a lot of slack, but, dude, I've probably heard that song more than any other song I've ever listened to in my life at this point.
Yeah, just think about it.
Winding up here, guys, one of the things that Chuck Norris started was Kick Drugs Out of America. It's a foundation to, I think it was like middle school kids, to get them into karate, to keep them off drugs. And they featured that in a number of episodes of Walker, Texas Ranger. But that was one of the foundations he started in Texas and did while he did the show. And it's still going strong as Kickstart Kids. And here's a clip of him talking about it.
If you'd have seen me 20 years ago, they'd say, there's no way he could have been a karate champion. There's no way he could have been an actor. Because it didn't come out in my persona. But I knew what I wanted. I knew what I wanted to achieve in my life. And the martial arts gave me that inner strength. That's why I started this program. That's why I started Kick Drugs Out of America. Because I knew what it did for me as a kid. And I know what it can do for these children as well. Because it does help you. It does develop that inner strength. It does focus you in life. The martial arts gives you that, not only that physical, but mental strength to achieve. And that's very important.
We have sold a number of action figures this weekend with the news of Chuck Norris's passing. So what we're going to do is, for the rest of this month and the month of April, we're going to donate all the proceeds after shipping, including our costs, everything, directly to Kickstart Kids. So I think we've sold 4 action figures so far, so that should be about $100 already to Kickstart Kids. Anybody who buys anything off our Roundhouse Roulette merch shop will donate it to Kickstart Kids to try to pass it on and keep going what Chuck started. He's left us with so many great moral ideals to try to live by, and also Kickstart Kids, which is helping kids out and stay off drugs and learn the principles of karate.
I think he'd be pleased to hear that.
In summation, he was a living legend, and now he is still a legend. And as we continue to dissect Walker, Texas Ranger, we will be continuing to sing his praises and be in his debt.
We're still coming back to it years later, and still finding enjoyment in it. So, I think that's always going to be the case. It's always his legacy, whether he's on this planet or elsewhere. So. We'll keep beaming those signals out into outer space, and hopefully the aliens find it and stay away from planet Earth.
They will if they know it's good for them.
I mean, if they think Chuck Norris is still here, they're going to stick away. But he's got a lot of people that learn karate from him, so I think we'll be safe.
Well, I guess takeaway for me in the past few days has been, I've never agreed with most of his political beliefs, especially in later years. But it was nice to see, and again, I think most of it comes from a good place. Down deep, and I think when you look at some of the videos, especially the older ones, he was just talking about his
moral code and
there was never anything that was excluding anybody or anything like that. It was always very inclusive, and just he had strong work ethics, and that was kind of the big takeaway, I think. And it was good to see a lot of those interviews or just clips of him talking about that, because it was people like to just be like, oh, he was this side of the aisle or whatever. It's like, yeah.
He's a human being, and
yeah.
That piece I wrote, it's on our website, the Roundhouse Kick that Binds, kind of gets into that, where, I don't know, I found this weird video where someone just point blank asked him, like, so do you have any fans that are Democrats? It's like, what? It's like, it's Chuck Norris, man. He's got all types of fans from all walks of life. You know what I mean? Yeah. So to ask that, so he kind of was a little flat-footed and said, hey, if you have a different opinion than me, I respect your opinion. But I thought what he said was really pertinent to the times right now, where it's like, we've got to bring the temperature down and be able to disagree and still listen to each other. And so that's why I included that there, because, you might not agree on everything that politically that he's into, but he's inspired a lot of people, and I'm sure their lives are better for it. I know he's brought us together to do this podcast, and we're indebted to do that. He got us through the pandemic, and you could argue if we're more sane or insane from doing this podcast since the pandemic, but
not important.
I know I've had a great time. I mean, I know Walker, Texas Rangers led me into some weird spots. I mean, we've talked to some of the actors and people who worked on the show. We've had people come out to Warbler shows because of this podcast and request the Walker, Texas Ranger theme song.
That is weird.
That was like, never expected that to happen, And we've got some really fun things planned for this year that we're working on. I don't want to spoil them, but a lot of cool stuff. So we've still got some really fun things on the horizon. And Bob, you just edited the podcast on Heart of the Dragon, which we're going to be dropping this week.
Okay. I thought you were talking about the Jade Dragon.
It concerns the Jade Dragon.
Oh yeah. It's easy to get confused because they won't stop saying that stupid Jade Dragon throughout the whole episode, and then it's like Way of the Dragon, Heart of the Dragon. I'm way confused on this, but it's going to be a fun podcast. We'll drop that, and a lot more fun along the way. We appreciate you guys listening, and we're sending love out to Chuck and his family, and Walker, Texas Ranger family out there. Roundhouse Nation, sending our love out to you guys, and may the eyes of the Ranger be upon you.
When you're in Texas, look behind you, 'cause that's where the Ranger's gonna be.